2 hours later, it was still pitch black outside. After Mr. McKnight and Mr. Brooks had checked into the motel for the evening, Thorn Dusk and the gang had driven to the park with the mystery machine to prepare for the final confrontation with Freddy Krueger. Inside the mystery machine, all the gang sat in the back of the van, circled around a chair that was placed in the center of them. "Okay, Velma, so what's the plan?" Daphne asked. "It's very simple, really," Velma said. "We're going to bring Freddy out and defeat him in the real world." Yeah, okay, but what do we do?" Dusk asked. "Okay, so here's how it goes. Thorn, you're gonna need to sit down on that chair," Velma said. Alright, Thorn said, getting up and getting in the chair. "Can I ask why?" "I'll explain in a minute," Velma answered. "Now, when was the last time you took those dioxin pills?" "I don't know, it's been a while. I think the last time I took one was yesterday," Thorn said. "Great, then this should work perfectly," Velma said. "Why, could you just explain the plan so we could get this over with?" Shaggy whimpered. "Okay, so Thorn's gonna fall asleep, right? That will lure Krueger into her dream, and once he gets close enough, Thorn's gonna grab onto him, and at the same time, we'll wake her up, and that should bring them both into the real world," Velma explained. "Well, that's when we'll have a chance to, finish him," Fred said. "Exactly, Freddy," Velma concurred. "But wait a minute, Velma," Shaggy said. "What happens if we all fall asleep?" "I've already counted for that," Velma said. "Fred?" Fred then took an alarm clock and then set the alarm. "Should any of us fall asleep within the minutes of this falling asleep, the alarm will go off and wake us up. It can also work that way for any of us to grab Krueger if he enters any of our dreams," Velma said. "That's a genius, Velma," Daphne complimented. "Thank you," Velma said. Fred set the clock down on the floor, and Thorn yawned as she was so tired right now. She was more exhausted than she has ever been before. Falling asleep, it seemed like she was going to be easy. "Alright, Thorn, you ready?" Velma asked. Thorn sighed deeply, tried to steady her racing heartbeats. "Yeah, I'm ready," she said. "But, wait a minute, Velma," Shaggy said. "What happens if we all fall asleep?" "Wait, didn't you just ask that?" Thorn asked, puzzled. "Why don't we just forget about this whole plan?" Daphne asked. Thorn stared at them all, but they didn't really return the looks. "How else are we supposed to stop Krueger then?" Thorn asked. "Yeah, why risk our own lives when we could have just give Krueger what he wanted?" Dusk said. Now Thorn was scared. "What?" she asked. But she was ignored. They all just talked amongst each other. "I guess it'd be better for her to die than us. She's the one Krueger wants, right?" Fred said. "You guys, what are you saying?" Thorn asked, but slowly her voice was going to mute. The chair she was sitting slowly drew back away from the mystery machine in pitch darkness. Thorn then slowly became aware that she hadn't fallen asleep, and her feelings of the chair moved back, but to nothing. It came to a stop in the boiler room, which is all too familiar to Thorn's eyes. She then stood up and out of her chair and shouted, "Krueger!" she called. But there was no one there. "Krueger!" she repeated. Thorn wasn't going to let him get to her this time. Soon she'd be able to be the one in control. She was ready to end this. "Come on! You ugly piece of garbage!" she called. "Where are you?" From behind her, she heard a deep, throaty voice say, "Here." Thorn screamed. In the real world, the Mystery Inc. and Dusk sat around Thorn, waiting for her to make any kind of a sign. "Do you think she's okay?" Dusk asked. "Yeah, she's fine. She looks peaceful enough to me," Fred said. "What if this plan doesn't work?" Shaggy asked. "It should. To be perfectly honest, I'm more concerned about waking Thorn up," Velma said. "What?" Dusk asked. "What do you mean, Velma?" Daphne questioned. "Well, she hasn't slept in about 3 days, so now this is finally letting her body doing so. It'll be a lot more difficult to wake her up," Velma said. "Ruh-oh," Scooby said. "Don't worry, I prepared for that," Velma said. That's what the chair's for. If we can't conventionally wake her up, we'll give her a kick." "You're going to kick her?" Shaggy asked. "Not kick her, a kick. When a person is startled out of their sleep," Velma explained. "We'll simply push over the chair and it should send a jump to Thorn's head. Wake her up, and I hope." "You hope?" Daphne asked. "I have faith in my plan, so don't worry," Velma reassured. Shaggy and Scooby then yawned simultaneously. Come on, you guys, stay awake, Fred said. We can't all afford to fall asleep. Back in Dreamland, Thorn was slowly backed away from Freddy, who crept quickly towards her. Naughty little girl, Sally, Freddy said. Looks like I'm gonna have to punish you. Suddenly, the background behind Thorn changed to her house in Oakhaven. It was at night, and Thorn was standing right in front of the door to her mother and father's bedroom. Thorn slowly took a breath and opened the door. Then she walked inside. She saw her mother laying in bed asleep. Her mother had been dead for years. The last time Thorn saw her, she was at least 8 years old. Seeing her mother brought a tear to Thorn's eyes. Then out of the other side of the room appeared Kruger. He walked over towards Thorn's mother's bed, and Thorn looked and putting a knife finger into his mouth and whispering, Shh! No, you stay away from her! Thorn demanded. While smirking, Kruger began to use his knifed finger and pull the covers down from Thorn's mother, who stayed asleep the whole time. Stop it! Leave her alone! Thorn pressed. Kruger then walked up to Thorn and gave a chuckle as he held a blade to Thorn's mother's stomach. Stop! Thorn said. Wiccan witch, Kruger said as he reared his arm back before thrusting his gloved hands right into Thorn's mother's stomach. No! Thorn screamed. Of course she couldn't watch. She then ran over to Kruger and grabbed a hold of him. Guys, I've got him! Wake me up! Thorn shouted up to the ceiling. Nothing happened. She just remained in the dream world. Shaggy, Fred, Velma, wake me up! Thorn continued shouting. What? No! Freddy said before slashing Thorn's arm, throwing her off of him. She fell backwards and hit her head on the dresser. Blood trickled down her arm. Kruger then chuckled as he walked near her. Thorn couldn't believe it. Why weren't the guys waking her up? Did they not hear her? What is going on? Freddy turned his head to his side, and he clearly sensed something. He smiled evilly. In the real world, every last person in the Mystery Machine, Fred, Daphne, Shaggy, Scooby, Velma, and Dusk, was fast asleep. And guess what? The timer on the lock was set for 2:25 a.m., and right now it was 2:05 a.m. Inside the recesses of the gang's brain, they all found themselves in their own individual sections of Kruger's boiler room of terror. Inside Daphne's mind, she looked around the boilers and molten steel. No, hello, she called, but no one answered. Fred? Velma? Scooby? Shaggy? She called. Then she heard a screeching noise that made her swiftly turn around. Standing right there, she saw Kruger, chuckling as he walked towards her. Daphne, he said. Oh, God, Daphne said with a grimace. Pretty little Daphne, Fred said. Coming to save Sally, are we? Daphne winced. She couldn't believe what was happening. This was by far the weirdest experience with a monster she's ever had. Wanna come over and play? Kruger asked sinisterly. Not chancing it, Daphne turned and bolted away. Your call, Kruger said. As she ran down the stairs, Daphne felt like no matter how fast she could run, she could never get far away from Kruger. Daphne shrieked as she was running was halted when she crashed into someone. It was Velma, Fred, and Dusk. They were all as well. It's only you guys. What's happening? How did we get here? Daphne asked. I think we're dreaming, Daphne, Velma said. What? Daphne questioned. Then she suddenly remembered. Oh no! We must have fallen asleep in the van, Daphne said. What are we gonna do? I don't know, but we have to find Shaggy and Scooby, Velma said. Where's Thorn? Daphne asked. Do you think she's here? I don't know, Fred said. It's so hot in here, Dusk said. Oh, and by much worse, you're actually being burnt by it, said a voice surrounding it. Then he slowly walked down the steps, and Daphne just ran down. Just came to everyone's line of sight. Why are you doing this? Daphne asked. Freddy smiled. Because it's fun. You won't get away with this. You're going to pay what you have done, Velma said bravely. Kruger laughed and made a shiver go down Daphne's spine. Oh, you meddling kids can't stop me, he said. You're in my world. We're not kids, Kruger, and we will defeat you, Fred pointed. Oh, Mr. Macho Man, Fred taunted. He then slowly walked over to Fred. So, Fred Jones, Kruger said, you want to take a poke at me? Then without warning, Kruger stabbed his glove right into Fred. The girl shrieked as Fred howled in pain. From a distance, Shaggy's voice can also be heard. "Why, hello! Is anyone here?" he said. Dropping what seemed to be doing, Freddy turns his attention to this direction of Shaggy's calling. "Oh, more guests have arrived. I'll be right back," Krueger said, giving the others one final look before walking away. On the other side of the boiler room, Shaggy then looked around desperately to find his friends. "Scooby? Fred? Velma? Daphne?" Shaggy called as he crept quietly. The expression on Shaggy's face was pure terror. He honestly thought given that moment it would be his last. "Shaggy," he heard a familiar voice called. "Huh? Like, over here," he called. Walking out of the steam came Thorn. "Thorn? Like, what are you doing here?" Shaggy asked. Thorn jogged up to Shaggy. "Shaggy, we've got to find a way out of here. He's going to kill us all," Thorn said. "Who?" Shaggy asked. "Me," Krueger shouted. Shaggy jolted in fear, and he and Thorn slowly turned around. Standing there, tapping his claws on the railing, was Krueger, and he took to being so demented. Shaggy then nearly pissed his pants. Yet by doing this, Shaggy knew he had to protect Thorn, so he stood in front of her. "Oh, stand back, man," Shaggy feebly said. "I'm warning you." "What are you gonna do to me, hippie boy?" Krueger asked. "Would it be your spineless ass finally growing a pair?" Like mortified, Shaggy stood his ground. "Like, at least I'm not some creepy old burned victim." Shaggy then tried to taunt. "What?" Krueger said in this slight annoyance. "Yeah," Shaggy said. "Like, you're so ugly, I bet they call you Pizza Face." Krueger was starting to get irritated by Shaggy's little jokes. "You're not even that scary," Shaggy said. He was going to gain some confidence in by saying this. "Like, my grandmother's creepier than you," he continued to taunt. "Shaggy, what are you doing?" Thorn tried to whisper. "Is that right?" Krueger asked. "Yeah, that's right," Shaggy said. All of a sudden, Freddy was up in Shaggy's face and grabbed him by the shirt. In that instant, with all the bravery, was stripped away from Shaggy. "Am I scary enough for you now?" Krueger growled. "Shaggy!" They all heard Velma scream. Thorn turned around and saw Fred, Daphne, Velma, and Dusk standing there. "Guys," Thorn said. "Oh look, the gang's here," Krueger said, still holding Shaggy by the throat. "All except one," Krueger then said. He then followed Shaggy to the ground and began looking around. Shaggy got up and made his way over to his group of friends. They all watched Krueger, waiting for him to take his next move. In another part of the boiler room, Scooby sniffed and whimpered as he walked around the place. "Raggy?" he barked. But no one answered. He felt alone. He knew that he must have fallen asleep, and now he'd be the mercy of Freddy Krueger. "Scooby-Doo!" Scooby urged Krueger say. "Where are you? Where are you?" Before hearing a sadistic chuckle, Scooby felt a shadow approach him from behind and turned around to see who it was and whimpered once more. A few minutes later, Krueger had everyone technically held against the wall and placed in front of them, like a kid who is to teach his team for a handball. "So let's see. Which one should go first?" Krueger said, pacing. Everyone else struggled to move, but they were stuck. "Maybe I'll just kill you all at the same time," Krueger said. He then stopped pacing and turned his attention to Daphne. "Miss Blake, how about you first?" he said. "Hey, leave her alone," Fred ordered. "Shut up, boy," Krueger said. You're not calling the shots around here. I am." Daphne then shuddered as Krueger walked closer to her. "Just one question," he said, stroking a bit. "Are you a screamer?" To everyone's attention, a small ring was heard. Gradually, the sound got louder and louder. Krueger looked as surprised as the others did. They all noticed that the alarm, it went off, and the noise became rumbling loud. The gang all woke up and they realized they were back in the mystery machine. Scooby, Shaggy, Fred, Velma, Daphne, and Dusk all looked at each other, then sighed in relief. "Well, I guess that was a plan that went through the window," Daphne said. "Yeah, like it sounded a lot easier than it was," Fred agreed. "Like, what do we do now, Velma?" Shaggy asked. Velma didn't answer. She was definitely staring at something. "Velma?" Shaggy asked again. "Look," Velma points out. Everyone's head turned in the direction where Velma was pointing. "Oh my god!" Dusk said. It was Thorn. She was still asleep. Back in Dreamland, Thorn remained in a boiler room, facing Freddy alone. "Looks like it's just us again, Sally," he taunted. He grabbed her and threw her to the ground and got on top of her. "Oh god, please no!" Thorn whimpered as she began to cry. "Oh no?" Krueger mocked. In the real world, Fred leaned across and tried to shake Thorn awake, but she wouldn't. "Thorn," he called. "What's going on, Velma?" "It's the drugs. She's been awake for far too long. I was afraid of this. The alarm wasn't strong enough to wake her up," Velma said. In the dream world, Kruger lay one hand over Thorn's throat, used his claw, and was going to slash her. Thorn screamed in pain as with each new swipe he gave on her body. "Why wouldn't I wake up?" she screamed. In the real world, the gang could see blood trickling down from her body. "He's killing her," Fred said. "Guys, do something." In the dream world, Kruger taunted Thorn as she tried to snap out of the nightmare. "You think your friends can wake you up?" he said. "The only way I'll let you guys go is if you're dead." In the real world, Velma finally remembered. "Scooby, the kick," she said. "Right," Scooby barked. And with that said, Scooby pushed a chair and Thorn was falling backwards. All in slow motion, the chair fell back. In the dream world, Kruger held his knife finger to Thorn's chest, ready to end it. "Say goodnight," he said. At the last moment, Thorn felt the kick and grabbed a hold of Kruger. In the real world, Thorn woke up with the burned monster, and she had brought Kruger into the real world. But the problem was that he was also in the mystery machine. The gang all gasped at the sight of Kruger as he and Thorn wrestled out of the back of the van. Everyone quickly headed towards the back doors in the mystery van and got out. Thorn followed, but it wasn't long until he regained his composure and stepped out of the vehicle and onto the grass as well. "Bad play, Sally," he said. "Now I'm really pissed." "You don't have any power here, Kruger," Thorn said bravely. Kruger scoffed. Then he swiftly slashed Scooby's body with his gloves, and the attack hit the dog so hard that he fell a couple feet back. Kruger may not be the god in the world, but he is still pretty strong. "Scooby!" Shaggy yelled in concern, running over to his hurt friend. "Like, are you okay, man?" he said. "Yeah, I think so," Scooby similarly whimpered. He had some slashes across his body, but they didn't look too serious. Let's have it out, woman," Freddy said to Thorn. "You and me." Fred then stepped closer to Thorn, which made her back away from him. "You think just because you brought me into the real world, I'm no longer a nightmare?" he asked. The rest of the gang did nothing. They didn't even take a chance on what Kruger might be capable of. Thorn said nothing, and then she backed against the food booth. "Life is a fragile thing, you know," Kruger said. "You can give life for..." With that instant, he grabbed Thorn by the throat. "You could take it away," he smirked. "No!" Dusk screamed. Thorn then held her hands to Freddy's as he was going to kill her. She knew. She was already starting to lose consciousness. Out of nowhere, Freddy was then hit at the back of the head by a rock, and he turned to his attention to see himself and saw Dusk throwing things at him. "Leave my friend alone," she shouted. Thorn then took this opportunity to try to escape from Kruger's grasp, and then looked down at the table booth and was up against it, and saw a kitchen. She quickly opened it. Inside was a carver knife and a cleaver. Quickly she grabbed the knife and sliced Kruger's hand off, which was around her. Kruger screamed in pain as he realized Thorn had done. "Oh, you did this to me!" he yelled. Thorn then turned around and then grabbed the cleaver too, then kicked Freddy back. However, she felt a new strength coursing through her. Kruger just trying to grab her, but she wouldn't just cut him down with the knives. With one final blow, she hit Kruger in the face, causing him to fall back and hit his head on the booth. Thorn used the carving knife and finished him off, and into the wood we see it. Again, Kruger howled in pain, but he was not the only one who was stuck. "Sally, Sally," he screamed. "You won't ever forget me, ever!" With that, Thorn took the cleaver and she had in her hand and took the final kill to Freddy Krueger. Freddy was dead. The gang just stood there in awe. They couldn't believe what just happened. "Welcome to my nightmare, you freak," Thorn said quietly. She then removed the cleaver from Freddy and then repeatedly chopped him at the same spot. With each chop, Thorn hit harder. She just didn't want Krueger dead. She wanted to destroy him. Bits of blood splattered across her dress, but she didn't care. Noticing that it was taken a little too far, Fred walked over to her and heard her whimper, then stopped chopping. Then that was all too much for Thorn. She finally let go of the cleaver and stood and went to Fred's arms and began to cry. She just had to let it out, all this built-up frustration, the doubts, the worries, the lack of sleep. It was finally over. The rest of the gang walked over to join Fred and Thorn in a big group hug. Later, they burned her Freddy's body, so there wouldn't be a trace of him left. That night, Fawn went to sleep, and for the first time in days, she got fully rested, not even without having one nightmare.